CEOs of both companies join us right now, first on CNBC. Ginni Rometty from IBM and Jim Whitehurst of Red Hat, and welcome to both of you. We really appreciate your time today. Ginni, you have said that this is a transformational deal, that this is something that is a game changer for IBM. Why don't you talk to us about why you think this is the right move and why you're making this deal?
Yes, this is all about, for us, Becky, Andrew, Joe, good morning, I should say. But for us, it's all about resetting the cloud landscape. And this is to create the #1 company that will be the #1 hybrid cloud provider. And if you look at this with our clients, right now, if everyone moving to the cloud, 20% though, I call that chapter 1, they've really only moved 20% of their workloads. Chapter 2 is the next, and that's to move the next 80%. And that's what this is about. But to move that 80%, they are going to need what this combination brings them. And based on the hundreds of notes I know Jim and I have both gotten, clients see this very, very clearly. Chapter 2 is about hybrid cloud. This is how they move the remaining 80% of their work to the cloud. You have to be hybrid. You have to be able to handle multiple clouds. You have to be open technologies. You have to do multi-cloud management. And that's what we can do. I mean, as you guys know, we've been investing in cloud a long time. $19 billion cloud right now. And this is what makes us #1 for this next chapter of the cloud.
You know, Ginni, you bring up a good point about the open source and that being very important to the industry. Jim, maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Obviously, Red Hat has always been open source, and it's been a huge selling point. Under this acquisition, you'll still remain, your team will remain, you'll be reporting directly to Ginni. But in terms of keeping that open source, how do you kind of guarantee to your clients that we're still going to be operating the same, just with a bigger leverage?
Well, sure. So, first off, IBM has been one of the largest supporters of open source for over 20 years. In fact, one of the reasons we've been so successful is a long time ago, IBM committed $1 billion to Linux. And so, IBM is one of the largest contributors, and together we're by far will be the largest contributor to open source software. We will remain distinct because we want our customers to understand that Red Hat coming in is a neutral cell that works across all platforms. Now, we'll obviously coordinate closely within IBM to be able to drive a lot of incremental value on top of that. But one of the reasons we're talking about being distinct is so customers recognize what we do is open choice or open source. It's about maintaining choice. It's about running across all platforms. And then we'll work with IBM to both leverage the distribution. So this is all about growth, but also to be able to build unique offerings from IBM on top of that neutral platform.
You know, Becky, if you think about it, this is a $1 trillion emerging market. That's what we're going after. It's $1 trillion. And clients don't want lock-in. This gives them a portable answer here. And they want to be able to run on their prem, in a private cloud, in a public cloud, multiple public clouds. And that's what we do together. And I think the world doesn't realize that Linux is now the #1 platform, not just on-prem, it's the destination in the cloud. So now we own the #1 starting point and the destination.
Jim, just to follow up on that, how long are you planning on staying, and what safeguards are there to make sure your team sticks around for a while, too?
Well, a couple things. I'm in this for the long run. I'm young. I plan to be here for the rest of my career. I think we have such a huge opportunity together. In terms of my team, of course, there are, financial safeguards, but most importantly, the team is passionate and excited about what we can do together. We've been excited about our future for a long time, and I know we've talked about that a lot, but we've been constrained on what we can do because we don't have the commercial scale and the reach that we need to really believe that we can fulfill our full potential. Within IBM, we can do that. So my team is really jazzed and excited about what we can do inside of IBM.
And Ginni, Becky, as we've...
Oh, go ahead.
Joe, is that you?
That's Andrew.
Andrew.
Ginni, real quick, can you just speak to the multiple, the price you're paying? Because this is a considerable price. Some people might argue it's a very high price that ultimately this deal will have to grow into, if you will.
No, Andrew, this is a very fair price if anyone understood the prized asset we're buying. And Jim's built a great company. And unlike others, high growth, high profit, and cash. And so this is why I think really the most important thing for our investors, this is about lifting all of IBM, and it is accretive to our high value model. As you know, we have a high value model. So 200 basis points CAGR to revenue growth over 5 years. This is about being accretive in year one for free cash flow and gross margin in year one. And most important, we are still going to go ahead with a very strong growing dividend. And that is really key to our shareholders. We have got the financial flexibility to both organic, inorganic, continue, do this acquisition, and as you see right here, our dividend continued to grow.
Ginni, why do you think your stock is down by 5.5% this morning then?
Yeah, look, I think this is early. We've got to now, as we explain this to the market, I actually believe they're going to be very, very confident. Again, I gauge by the hundreds of letters and notes from clients that both of us have gotten. Makes perfect sense. This is what these clients tell me day in and day out they need for Chapter 2. That 80% of their work can't move without what we bring them, and they don't want lock-in. So this now changes the cloud battle to open, which is what we both are together, to proprietary. And this allows them to move mission-critical work safely and securely. We can secure this from the firmware up. You guys talk a lot about cyber issues. This is about making open source, safe, end-to-end, mission-critical work moving, accretive to IBM's high-value model, strong, continued growing dividend. All around, everyone wins.
Can you, though, speak to the idea that Red Hat has long been considered Switzerland, if you will? They've had partnerships with so many other companies, whether it's Microsoft, Azure, or others, and how you think that changes under IBM?
Yeah, this is a really good point, Andrew, because it doesn't change. In fact, again, back to one of the great things about the world is moving to open and it's multi-cloud. Our clients have 5 to 15 clouds already. They desperately want help to manage that, and they want to move workloads between that. That's what we do here. Our hybrid cloud, combined with what Red Hat has built, is about making and taking workloads and moving them amongst all these clouds and safely moving data. So we welcome those partnerships. In fact, actually, we already manage, remember, our global services business manages multiple clouds already today, and we're going to continue to do that. So whether it's Azure, AWS, Google, the work that Jim does, we will continue that and absolutely be neutral for them.
And Andrew, I would emphasize that even more. Because of this 80% of workload that needs to move, and we can help accelerate that and help our customers kind of move to cloud, we will be able to bring more workloads to more clouds. And so I think we'll be an even stronger partner and a faster growing partner with all the major clouds.
Quick culture question, and I know you're going to remain independent within IBM. There's an interesting analysis online. It says Red Hat has a policy in their employee manual that explicitly gives their employees to act in the best interests of upstream open source projects, even if it's counter to Red Hat's interests. That's always been part of your culture. Goes on to say IBM, on the other hand, has a history of engaging with upstream projects to steer them towards their corporate interests. How do you think about that under this deal?
Yeah, look, there's two ways to think about this. First off, Jim mentioned this. We are the largest contributor to open source. IBM is. And so when people say, geez, do we embrace it? We have embraced it for 20 years. As you guys know, one of the fastest growing projects in Linux Foundation is Hyperledger for blockchain. And so that idea that we are going to continue to appropriately put into the Red Hat Linux enterprise everything that should be there. And so Jim knows that. We think this is part of the value of what we offer. So it's both really being the champion of open source out there with the two combined companies.
Yeah, just to emphasize that again, for us to be able, as Red Hat and open source, to achieve our full potential, this is without a doubt the best way to do it. It gives us a dramatically broader reach. It gives us a dramatically larger platform. It gives us dramatically greater investment into open source and what we can do. And so we are passionate about open source and what we can do, and this is the best way that we can scale it. So I'm very confident and convicted that our associates will see that as well.
Hey, Ginni,
This is about being number one now in this next chapter.
Ginni or Jim or both. This is Joe, actually, now. But are you seeing for talent, sort of a rush to try to outbid in technology land? I imagine that really good STEM people are tough to come by. I'm not saying you guys aren't the sexiest place on the block, but are you seeing, will there be wage pressures based on bringing in the best people to Red Hat or IBM, Ginni?
Yeah, listen, this is interesting. We already get 7,000 applicants a day. Our team, 7,000 a day. Jim, highly sought after as well as an employer. And so we get the best of the best. And an acquisition like this, it is absolutely about key talent. And I should have mentioned, this is all about revenue growth, not cost synergies. And I think we have no trouble, I know we don't, at 7,000 applicants a day, no trouble getting the right talent. We get the best talent in the world. And it's really because they're driven by both, as you guys know, we've been very focused on AI, very focused on cloud, and how to bring that into the business world.
And I'll say there's been significant kind of wage pressure because, yeah, there's a lot of interest around cloud, and that talent is not in great supply. But the nice part about this is this growth and scale allows us to absorb that in the overall model while still delivering more profitability. So this is actually a good thing to address any concerns on STEM and lack of the size or scale of STEM talent available.
And you guys realize we're both one of Jim's biggest locations, actually Raleigh, Boston. We're very large in both places. So together, we are the top here.
Yeah, I know you've had a partnership for quite a while. Ginni, when did you first start eyeing Red Hat as an acquisition target? How did it come about?
Yes, well, we've obviously, I said we started this partnership long before Jim and I, 20 years ago, and we've been working on improving. And really, it was about April. We sat down, had a very interesting lunch about the real strategic alternative here and had been working it. And therefore, if you'd been watching, you'd have seen we'd been making more and more partnership announcements along the way, testing a lot of our theories here. And again, they've been very, very well received by our clients. So it's very clear this is the right match.
Can you talk just about suspending share buybacks as part of this, too?
Yes. Yeah, this is really just in our effort. This is 20 and 21 when we talk about doing that. And it is just about being very prudent about our debt level. I mean, we've got more than ample financial flexibility, as I said a minute ago. As you know, we finished last quarter, $15 billion of cash. We've got $12 billion plus free cash flow. This is cash and debt we're going to do here. We were strong investment grade. We are still strong investment grade. And in fact, we target a really conservative, what I would call it a leverage ratio of mid to high single A, and therefore we'll be back at that in just 2 years. So we said as part of that on our debt level, look at 20 and 21, we'll just be conservative about our debt level and suspend our share repurchase for those 2 years.
We never know how to characterize mergers as defensive or offensive. I'm just trying to get a look at, Ginni, at how you view the economy in the future in terms of business investment and in terms of just the overall environment. Because Friday's report on GDP, we're expecting maybe better, more optimism about the outlook. Are you worried about things, about tariffs or about the next recession, or about maybe things can't get much better than they already are? Is this an endorsement of the future or insurance against an uncertain future?
This is both confidence in a future, and it is as well insurance, because our clients are going to continue to move to the cloud, and they are going to continue to want both that flexibility and choice, because it puts them in a better position, Joe. So both ways. I am not concerned about our tariffs right now. For us as a company, we're a global company. We know how to move our supply chains around and the like. But what I do see with our clients this is a move that they're going to continue, and it's in their interests, irrelevant of what the economy is, to continue that move.
Hey, Ginni, what does it say about IBM's either commitment, or rather not commitment, maybe the challenge of Watson? So much of the growth prospects of IBM for so long have been placed on Watson. Is this a commentary that perhaps you need to push more into a different place?
Not at all. We have always said this is about IBM becoming both a cognitive and cloud company. I've said that a million times for I can't tell you how many years now. And so one thing this does is this really unlocks even more for our clients on Watson analytics, open machine learning, because one of the biggest problems a client has, and I know everyone listening knows it, they can't get their data pulled together, and they can't get it pulled together safely and securely to feed Watson, to feed AI. And this is going to allow us to scale that. So this is absolutely, when I said, Andrew and Joe, Becky, it lifts all boats for IBM, I mean, I just walk right across our portfolio, our hybrid cloud unit, our private cloud, our public cloud, Global Services has a huge cloud migration factory, 90,000 cloud architects, our AI, our Watson. This goes right on top of this, all in an open source world. This is actually good for all of IBM, which is why I'm confident about saying this is really great for our high value model. And as I said, revenue 200 basis points on our size is not irrelevant.
Drilling down on the tariff issue, just quickly, specifically as far as China goes, both of you, I mean, technology is paramount at both companies. Are you gratified, fearful, happy, sad? Is it time to take a stand against the way China treats some of our technology or our technology company? I'd like to hear from both of you on that, Ginni.
Yes. So listen, Joe, I think I would say we are a very strong proponent of fair and free trade, and that's been very clear, and it's been good for IBM, it's been good for the countries we participated in, I think it's been good for the United States. And when it comes to China, we've had a very positive relationship with China over the past, and the tariffs have not had an impact. I mean, we run many of the biggest banks over in China, and they need our technologies to do that. And so I look forward to it. I understand why we are doing what we're doing. And again, I'm a big proponent of free and fair trade. And in the meantime, as I say, business around 170 countries around the world, and the impact of tariffs has been de minimis to us.
I would just say from Red Hat's perspective, we have a unique business model where all of our intellectual property is open and freely available. We actually get fairly significant contributions to projects like OpenStack, which are part of what we do, coming from China. So, we have no direct concerns as a business around it, and China continues to be a fast-growing business for us.
Ginni and Jim, I'd like to hear a little bit more from each of you on the economy, just kind of drilling down a little bit on what Joe had asked before. We have this conversation around the table where we're trying to get a gauge of how CEOs feel in terms of confidence and how that translates into CapEx spending. You two probably both have a pretty good idea of how much CapEx spending CEOs are willing to commit at any point. I wonder if you could just tell us if you've seen that drop at all, if you've seen that pick up, or what your latest gauge is just in terms of the overall economy. Ginni, I'll start with you.
Yes, you start with me. We have seen this be consistent now. I have not seen, as Joe was just asking a second ago, about a change. I see clients still very focused on, as they move their portfolios forward and they're competing with new competitors left and right, they're very focused now on modernizing their workloads and taking them to the future. I haven't seen a change in that.
Yeah, I would say similarly. I think at the beginning of this year, we saw an uptick in spend and in momentum in IT spending, and that's persisted. I wouldn't say it's gone up since the summer, but it certainly hadn't gone down. Again, almost every large enterprise is working through some form of digital transformation, and that requires significant investments in technology. And so I think that's why we're seeing that persist as we go forward.
I think one of the great ratios, as we're talking about, this is the hybrid cloud. Step 2, $80 trillion market. Westpac, one of the big banks, as we've moved them to a hybrid cloud environment, they've said to us, they said, let's see, 3 times less expensive, 10 times faster. And that's why these clients are going to keep moving, and that's why this is a good thing that the two of us are doing. It's an inflection point. Catch it now. They're moving this 80%. They can't do this part now without us. The average client's got 1,000 applications, and it's in their interest to move to that sort of a paradigm.
Ginni and Jim, I want to thank you both for joining us on this morning. We realize you're very busy, and we do appreciate your time. Again, IBM's Ginni Rometty and Red Hat's Jim Whitehurst. Thank you both.
Thank you, guys.